What's up, Melanated family? This is your boy Harrison from MelanatedFathers.com and Melanated Fathers TV, bringing you another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast, where we basically have in-depth conversations with individuals who are passionate about what they do, whether it be an entertainer, whether it be a teacher, whether it be somebody that just works day to day, whether it be a parent, anybody that's passionate about what they do, passionate about their people, passionate about making a difference in some way or another. We love to have them on. Also on the show, we talk about a couple current news stories going on in Black society, maybe a business or something like that I think everybody needs to support. And of course, we have the great interview today set up with a brother of mine that I've had the opportunity of hooking up with before. So before we get into the interview, get into everything we're going to discuss, let's go over the couple news stories that we have here today. Now, first news story that I wanted to read, and keep in mind, the news stories that I pick are just pertinent to me. I think all of us should be aware of what goes on in society, how you choose to pick what you're into, whether it's just strict politics, whether it's just Black issues, whatever it is. I think you should find a way to read something just to kind of get different perspective of what's going on out here in society. Now, the first article I want to read is entitled, I thought this was extremely important for all people of color to read. Pediatricians detail how racism is hurting children's health. Now, the article, which is on Atlantic Black Star, by the way, goes on to say that not only is a pediatric group of about 67,000 pediatricians acknowledging the effect of racism on children's health, it's recommending steps doctors can take to combat it. Now, the American Academy of Pediatrics released its policy statement, Racism and Its Impact on Child and Adolescent Health. The sister that was the lead of it, Dr. Maria Trent, lead author of the statement, said a combination of strategies is needed to, as she said, to begin untangling the thread of racism throughout the fabric of our society and to improve the health of all children. She was also quoted as saying, while progress has been made toward racial inequality, the impact of racism on communities of color is wide-reaching, systematic, and complex, which I completely agree with. Now, the researchers cited work out of the Brookings Institute show that children in Black, Hispanic, and American Indian communities continue to face higher risk of parental unemployment and to reside in families with significantly lower household net wealth relative to white children in the United States. You know, they went on to list some of the stats that they've uncovered. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommended doctors prioritize culturally competent care with the families and staff members, advocate for implicit bias training, and tap community leaders to create safe playgrounds and food markets and things like that. So look, family, I thought it was extremely important to read that story just so everybody out there understands how drastic and how important it is to get an understanding of how racism works, get an understanding of how inequality works. And as Black folks, melanated people, we are well aware, a lot of us are well aware of how a lot of these things operate. Everybody should do their job and, educate yourself on how it works and figure out a way you can combat it, but also taking personal responsibility, because they're speaking to the fact that basically young Black kids who don't have much, whether an unstable home environment, not a lot of food, not a lot of money to go around, as we know, a lot of us in our community know, that shit affects how you study. That shit affects how you socialize with other people. You see what I'm saying? So of course the system has played a role in doing us some things, which that continues to happen, but personal accountability in starting by just loving Black people, starting by being conscious of how you're starting your family, who you're starting your family with. All these are things we can handle ourselves while we become more knowledgeable about who we are and all these other things. You feel what I'm saying? So it's just showing that, poverty and inequality affects your health. And I've seen this happen to older Black people where it seems as if dealing with racism and how this system operates can affect them, but it's showing that it can affect our children too. So everybody needs to take what goes on in our society very serious. Now, The next story I have is about a business that's being started. This is the sister that I'm going to have the ability to actually interview as well. I'm pretty excited about that. Her name is Maria Watkins. She's an African-American entrepreneur. She founded the Right There Corporation. Now, the Right There Corporation is now among the first to offer a formidable technological solution for civilians who fear the threat of police misconduct and other potentially dangerous situations. Now, the Right There Corporation and its dedicated team of professionals have developed an app that will assist in reducing police misconduct. The RTC, as the initials of it is awaiting full patent approval. The RTC Protect is the name of the device. The app will soon be on Apple. It'll be on Android devices. It'll be on wearable devices as well. Some of the highlights, you guys tell me what you think about that. Some of the highlights would be voice touch activation, GPS tracking, audio and video surveillance. Now, I'm gonna ask the sister about that because I'm not sure how well that'll help in a time where videotaping was happening to us now and it's not being that effective. But it also will offer alerts to emergency contacts, assist you in filing complaints to the appropriate agencies, as well as access to a legal referral network. So I think, you know, as we are in an age sometimes where it seems like we're complaining about what's going on. Now, I'm aware that sometimes we're just reporting on what we see, and that's fine. But I think anybody who is moved to action after seeing these police killings, after seeing how we're treated by authority to a degree, anybody who moves to action and start doing something, that's inspiring for me. Because if all of us done that, you know, some of this shit wouldn't be going on no more. So I'm excited to see how this app will work for the sister. Anybody out there who wants to donate, if you want to find out when the launch date is going to be, if you want to get any more information about the app, you can go to her Instagram page, which is Right There Corp. Her Twitter is Right There Corp as well. The website is rightthereprotect.com. So if anybody's interested in that, I think it's a step in the right, you know what I'm saying? It's a step in the right direction. I'm not sure if some of those things would stand up against the legal system that we face, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, you know, it's good. She's putting her time and energy towards something as, important as that. Now, that's the two news stories. So we'll be done for today. Now, the interview that we have lined up for the day. When I first started my platform, which is Melanated Fathers of America, melanatedfathers.com, the whole idea behind the platform was to interview fathers like myself who have been through things, just to highlight the importance of our impact in our children's lives. When I first started, you know, it wasn't audio interviews, it was all written, but I had the pleasure of coming across this brother who I noticed had just written a book, but the brother was a professor too. And for me, growing up in the inner city, seeing maybe one or two Black male professors my entire time in high school, and even as a smaller child, unfortunately, it was just extremely impressive to me that the brother, you know, was in the Bay Area. He was a professor writing a book. He was a part of a lot of great things. Since we spoke, I've had the opportunity of watching his platform grow. Not only is he the author, like I said, a professor, he's a filmmaker, an entrepreneur with a multimedia company named Black Empower. The brother teaches ethics studies at San Jose City College. I want everybody in the family to welcome Khalid White to the episode. How you doing, Khalid?
I'm doing well, Harrison. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's good to have you back on, man. And like I said, since we spoke, brother, you've been able, and you know, a lot of the brothers that I've been able to speak to, that's been a part of this process that I didn't quite expect, to see everybody's evolution, to still be able to see it and be kind of in close proximity of what everybody's doing. And I see you got the new books out. You know what I'm saying? You still got your multimedia thing popping and everything. So look, before we talked about your father and we got into a lot of your beginnings, a lot of people may not be familiar with that interview. So I just wanted to quickly first get into your teaching and how, you know, as a brother, what made you or what inspired you to want to be a teacher?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, to be honest with you, man, a lot of people in my family, whether it was with little kids or even in the high schools and PE, I got a lot of educators in my family, from aunts and grandmothers and mother. My father even kind of dibble-dabbled in teaching too. And man, it just was, I got a chance to do like some volunteering with kids, and I really just enjoyed it. And so it turned from volunteering my time in high school and college with little kids into saying, hey, this is something I'd like to do full time and pursue it that way. But I knew of a professor, actually African-American male professor, who was a friend of my family. And he said, hey, would you be interested in you think teaching at the community college level? And at the time I was like 25. I was barely, a kid myself, right? Or just getting out of, still a young man, very close to these students' ages and things of that nature. And he gave me a shot to do some part-time teaching at a community college. And man, I was hooked. I really stopped working in the K-12 system professionally. I kind of still do it voluntarily, but ever since 2005, I was like, man, I love this community college age because it's a cool mixture of young adult, and even some elders. And it gives me a lot of challenges because a lot of the population that I want to work with, especially in higher ed, is in the community colleges in California. That's where all the Black and brown students are. Okay. They're not really at the Stanfords or the UCLA's, the way that we may think when we watch college football or college basketball on the weekends, right? Okay. In the classrooms, they're just not there. They're really in the community colleges. And then, the more I've studied the community college and the more I've researched and been in depth in it, the California Community College, which I've come to find out, has the most African-American male students of any college system in the United States, even more so than the Black colleges, right? So, I want to impact the Black community and Black culture and Black thought and critical thought. And so the community college offers me that opportunity. In addition to, Black thought, I want to impact people. And so it's a way for me to teach, a way for me to still make my impact. And it's really offered me a great, career so far. So I'm a lifelong educator, man. As I mentioned, I started volunteering, then I started working in the K through 12, elementary and high school system first, and got my feet wet. But then when I, got a taste of that community college opportunity, and again, this was in 2005, man, it hooked me, and it's been on ever since. So, long history of educators in the family, long history of entrepreneurs in the family, and I'm just doing a little bit of a mixture of both,
Good. Now, so two things come to mind when you say that to me. So that just shows me how important is it for us to have like models of possibility in our family.
Absolutely.
Because when you see people in your family doing certain things, it doesn't seem out of reach anymore. Mm-hmm. Because you mentioned the educators in your family, you mentioned the other professor that you knew, so this is not a person that is just teaching you at a school, but it's a professor So I'm sure that's even making you feel like, well, you know what, if he can do it, I'm sure I can too. So having success in our proximity, regardless of the levels of success in our proximity, can definitely be beneficial to us. Another thing I want to ask you, how do you, as it relates to you in like a Black student, because I'm sure, as we know, teachers have an impact on us, has had an impact on all of us, regardless of the race of the teacher. But being that we are Black, have you seen like just you being there for like a Black student? Have you seen them respond to you differently, or how do you think that dynamic has helped you, or what have you seen with that?
Well, that dynamic has been there since I got in the classroom, for sure. Teaching Black students and being Black myself, we share a connection just in terms of experiences for a lot of, in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
But then also I get a lot of students who really turn to me and look for me for advice. And as I mentioned, when I started off like in 2005 and 2006, 2007, I was still young. I was 25, 26 myself. So maybe my advice wasn't always the greatest. And maybe because there wasn't a huge age separation, it was kind of easy to get caught up in, I guess, being friends, so to speak. Now, as I've matured in the profession and developed myself and my self-confidence and my identity as a professor and a role model leader, because that comes with the job, whether it's in my job description or not, these youngsters are looking up to me. No doubt about that. So, that comes with my, I understand that responsibility. And so, again, now kind of, 15 years in, I can understand a little bit more, and my rapport and relationship with students is just as important as teaching them, building a relationship with them, because for Black students and Black and brown students and first generation and, students who have had a history of negative experiences, particularly in the public schools, when they come in with a lot of distrust and mistrust and a lot of, a lot of self-doubt. And so to be able to inspire or to be able to motivate these young people to become and achieve what they want to become and achieve, relationship building is key in that. It's paramount. It's paramount, especially for these young Black boys or young Black men. Because again, it's just, we're stereotyped and pigeonholed into only being an athlete or only being a class clown or a cut up, a troublemaker, and sometimes we play into that. But if I can tell you or somebody can show you, man, hey, you're greater than that. Your purpose is greater than that. You are more than that. Man, to have somebody say that to you, but to also to have somebody say it and mean it and be able to show you, like, this is how I see you developing and this is where you could be. I think there's nothing more powerful than that. So that's why having Black men in the classroom is so impactful, because it gives that impression, it gives that image that, hey, it provides an imagery that, hey, you know what, we really can do a number of different things and we can be in positions of leadership, and it's not just on the football field or on the basketball court. We can do it in all aspects.
Definitely. Now, something else I just thought of here. What's your thoughts on the junior college route to a university? Do you see a difference either or opposed to a kid? Because I've heard, I've seen some reports where kids say, I'm going to go to junior college, save some money up, and just transfer to the 4-year college. Or do you think just going, if you're going to go, just go for all 4 years? What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts, since being, an academic in the community college, has changed considerably. I would say for all parents, Black, white, green, orange, make sure that your child, I don't care, if they're a genius, or I don't care if they're just struggling to get by, make sure your child is exposed to the community colleges here in California, or community colleges wherever you are in whatever state that you're in. And I say that for these reasons. The community colleges provide a lower stakes opportunity, particularly in terms of price, for young people to get acclimated into what college life is supposed to be about and what the expectations of college life is and are. The community college also offers the opportunity for students to get, in a lot of cases, more personalized attention, lower class numbers. The teachers tend to typically know students by name, and they're not a number. You're not in a class of 200 and 300 like I see in some of these universities. No, you're in a class of maybe 30, 40, in some larger cases, maybe 50. But, it's lower stakes, it's greater opportunity, and community college is not the 14th grade. Man, this is, is rigor. There's preparation. There's all these different programs that are there to support you and help you transfer within your 2.5, 3 years as you're supposed to. I've seen a lot of people, or a lot of young people, go off to the 4-year college, and some have done well, but a lot don't. It's an adjustment period for a lot of young people. And for a lot of us, it's the first time we've seen you where you left the comfort of mom and dad's house. And who knows what that brings. Sometimes that can open up a whole nother can of worms, So I'm not saying don't go to a 4-year opportunity if you have the opportunity, don't go to a 4-year. I'm not suggesting that, but I am suggesting that each and every parent listening to Melanated Fathers podcast, make sure that starting at junior year, you show your student, you show your son or your daughter, your niece, your nephew, the opportunities that lie in the community college. And normally community college is right in the community, it's right in the neighborhood. So, I'm a proponent now of the community college, man. And I would encourage every parent to get a year and a half, 2 years of their students' college experience at the community college now.
Very interesting, very interesting. Because I was thinking that just looking at the layout and everything you're saying about it makes sense, because it is a big leap. And I was, until you said that, I kind of had the mentality that a junior college was like 14th grade.
Right.
But you're saying they get the stuff they need at that level. So when they go to a 4-year, they'll be prepared.
Yeah, more prepared. And statistically, it's shown that students who get the preparation at the community college, when they go to the 4-year, they do better. I can't quote the exact article, but I just read something last week or two that shows, man, you prepare at the community college and you do better in terms of transfer to your 4-year institution. And just like you mentioned, I thought community college was the 14th grade. I was fortunate to be able to go to a 4-year university straight out of high school. And I turned my nose up at the community college, like, nah, absolutely not. I'm smarter than that. I'm better than that. All these different things, because the community college had a stigma at that point in time. Yeah. And the stigma was that, it's just a continuation of high school. And now being in it, I know that is not the case. Being in it on the professor side and on the academic side, I know that's not the case. And the reputation, especially in the California community colleges, of academic preparation and social emotional preparation for these students is continuing to improve and increase. So, yeah, I'm a big supporter of the community college. And I actually went back to community college myself and earned a certificate, recently, 2016, 2017. So I'm not just saying it to say it. I'm saying it because I work in there, but I'm also saying it because I took some classes and went back myself to community college. So yeah, from experience.
Right, good. It's good. It's good to hear a professor say that. You know what I'm saying? I hope everybody out there is listening.
Yes, sir.
It's perspective, you know what I'm saying? And really, really utilizing all the options that you may have. Because I think some parents too, Khalid, may feel the pressure of sending their kid to a 4-year college and may not even be financially prepared, but feel the pressure from society, from just themselves wanting their kid to succeed. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's something good that parents need to hear, I think.
And let me just also mention this too. So we're talking about money and societal pressure. Now the cost of everything college related is going through the roof. And we know that, there's really no stopping it. Everything from textbooks to bus passes to parking passes to, lack of housing when you get there, that type of thing. So that's why I mentioned that community college offers a lower stakes opportunity, because, normally you're talking about paying anywhere between $40 to $50 max a unit, as opposed to at the universities, you may be talking about $2,500 a unit. So in some cases, if you save up, you may be able to pay community college out of pocket without having to take out loans and things of that nature. And now at the community college level, if you are a high school graduate from, if you spend 2 years in a California high school and graduated, you can go get your first 2 years of community college for free in California under this California promise. So again, it just behooves parents. I don't care if you're well off or if you're struggling, man, here is an opportunity for your young woman, young man to be able to, get a higher education or get the opportunity for higher education at a much reduced cost, sometimes, quote unquote free, and give them a shot and, without putting them or yourselves in debt. Those high interest student loans. So anyway, man,
That's
Yeah.
what's up, though. That's what's up, though, man. Many people out there need to hear that, especially, you know, in our community, bro. I think after high school, a young person has to do something. You
Yes.
you have to do something. You want to do a trade school, you want to go to the military. I mean, whatever the options may be. But I think sometimes we're thinking 4-year college or no college at all, or 4-year college if I have to go to the junior college based on the stigma we was talking about. I'm not gonna take it as serious. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So what I want to get into now, like I said before, the introduction I had to you, bro, was with your book, Black Fatherhood, Trials and Tribulations, Testimony and Triumph, as well as the documentary. I had the pleasure of seeing the documentary twice, once in the Bay Area, once when you had it here in SAC. Both times was just completely awesome. Great book, great documentary. Talk to me about that journey of writing the book. Like, did you have the expectations that it was going to do as well as it did?
No, I did not. I can say 100% no. I didn't know what to expect. You know, I mean, obviously I wrote it not to really get critical acclaim or to, you know, to win any type of, you know, accolades. I really just wanted it for community impact because, you know, I was just tired of seeing African-American fathers, Black fathers, fathers of African descent, melanated fathers, whatever tag you want to put. I was tired of us being drugged through the mud through the media. And then, you know, I just knew too many Black men, myself included, who really took pride in being dads and being fathers and being hands-on with their kids, even those who were like, you know, in estranged relationships from the mother, or even those who may have been out of state or out of the area, but they still, you know, as best they could, took time out to be a father to their son or to their daughter. And so I just knew too many examples, man. I really don't know too many deadbeats who just making that choice to be a deadbeat. Not saying that they're not out there. I'm not suggesting that. Not saying that these millions of men who have been taken away from prisons and incarceration or through death, you know, that hasn't impacted the communities. I'm not saying that or suggesting at all. What I'm saying is that I know a number who have made the conscious effort and decision to be as active as they could be. And that's not just only people with college degrees. That's people with no degree, no GED, people with an 8th grade, you know, I only went to the 8th grade all the way up through the PhDs. You know what I mean? I just knew too many brothers that were just, hey, this is this is what I do. This is who I am. This is a facet of, you know, of my life. So with that in mind, man, watching that whole thing in Ferguson, Missouri with Michael Brown unfold and how they depicted the community out there and how they really, in my opinion, blamed Michael Brown's father and his stepfather for inciting the riots and not being there for Michael Brown, and, you know, all the different stereotypes, how they just spun that narrative and victim blamed Ferguson and the Brown family for Michael Brown's killing. I just said, man, you know what? That's the last straw for me. From that point on, I set out to tell the story of African-American fathers in the way that I could, you know. So it was a journey. It was about a year overall, a year and some change to do the film. The movie was a whole nother ball of can of worms, you know what I mean? But that took about, you know, another year on top of the first year. But man, you know, just to see where it's been and see what it's done and to see the reaction that it's received nationwide and even internationally, I'm very pleased. There's nothing but God moving as far as that's concerned, because this, you know, it's just exceeding my wildest dreams. You know, I haven't necessarily made the New York Times bestseller list like Michelle Obama or somebody like that, but, you know, for just the first time out, man, trying it.
You making an impact, bro. You make an impact.
Thank you. So, you know, I wasn't trying to get, like I said, I wasn't doing it for commercial success. I was just doing it for community impact, and it has impacted the community and is continuing to. So, yeah, I'm very grateful and very grateful to the people that let me interview them and, you know, let me put them and their kids in the book and in the film and that type of thing. Because, you know, that's a touchy subject for some. I'm grateful to all of them, because without them, it just wouldn't have happened either. So
definitely. And I just want to say on top of that, being lucky to experience the actual documentary in the environment. That's something I'm learning, brother. When I go to a book signing or a documentary or anything where the energy is right, man, it feels the best. It feels like that's where all Black people should be. I'm watching fathers there with their kids. I'm watching older women there with their kids. You see what I'm saying? It feel like in all of those moments, it always feel like we're coming together for a good cause. And I look around the room like, man, I wish all of us was here. I wish everybody could be able to experience this. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed.
So I had a real good time.
Thank you. And I appreciate you coming out the times that you have, man. I don't take you or anybody else's time for granted. So I appreciate you showing up and supporting and, and just appreciate also, you talked about, seeing my platform grow. I've seen yours grow leaps and bounds. And so, I appreciate you for what you're doing as well.
Definitely. Now, what I want to get into next, one of the main reasons that I reached out to you, I see that you have the 2 children's books. Now, first I seen the first book, which is Little Brother.
Yeah.
And now I see you have Hermanito is the second book, which is, I thought was pretty awesome. It's being written in Spanish and English.
Yes, sir.
So talk to me about what even gave you the idea, because I'll add on top of that, reading at a young age for Black children, I think it should be a requirement. All parents should make their children read, not at school. They're going to have to read at school. They may even have to read some things they don't like at school. I get that. Make your child find a book on a topic that they enjoy and make them read. It does so much for your vocabulary, does so much for your imagination. Like, it should be a requirement to me. So talk to me about what motivated you to write the children's books, brother.
Well, what motivated me to write the children's books, initially, I was watching my daughter and my niece play and giggling and running around the house and picking each other up and, and playing hide and seek. And I was like, man, this would be great for, somebody to capture. Pictures just didn't do it. So I was like, this would be great for somebody to capture and kind of put into words, right? Just seeing the joy that these 2 little girls were just having around the house. And then, as an educator, man, and I deal with, everybody probably from 18 to, I think the oldest student I've had is probably 68, 70 years old, right? So it always kind of bothers me. And I'm trying to choose these words carefully. It bothers me when I get students who are 18, 21, 23, and really have trouble reading and writing. You know what I mean? And expressing themselves, I guess, written and being able to read and read out loud. Not to say that I'm the perfect reader or writer myself, but, I have to grade so many different people on their written expression. And written expression comes as a facet of you being able to understand and read vocabulary and, all that's connected, right? So anyway, I'm thinking, okay, if you're 18 years old and you have a 7th grade reading level, that's a shame, but that is a factor of what happened maybe when you were 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Definitely.
So the more that I started kind of, I guess, dialing back the numbers and dialing back to grade school, we see the issues that our young men are sometimes having in grade school with being expelled and kicked out at a higher number than other students, about ethnicity. I started saying, man, look, before they get 18, let's start addressing them at 8. Before they get 19, let's address them at 9. The more I started reading about this term, this idea, well, it's more than an idea. It's a like a factual thing called the school to prison pipeline, where it says in the state of California and I guess across all states, if you are not reading at grade level proficiency by 3rd, 4th grade, you tracked into going to jail and prison. So if we want to end this school to prison pipeline, it doesn't start when a person's 18 years old and eligible to go to county jail or state pen. This starts at 8 and 9 when they're in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, reading Cat in the Hat and Captain Underpants and things of that nature. So that's the first thing. I was like, man, I want to help end this school to prison pipeline in my own special way or in the ways that I can. I can't shut down the prisons. I don't have that type of power, but I can help people avoid prison down the line by giving them some books that are culturally relevant, provide some cultural imagery, provide Black and brown characters, and are, from the culture for the culture. You know what I mean? And
Definitely.
I think that, that's the way that I saw myself helping to, address and attack this school to prison pipeline, dismantle it, disrupt it.
Definitely. And, I think anytime we can see, or anytime we can create things for children that look like them, like whether it's baby dolls or, a book with the Black characters, hopefully a lot of Black parents will see that and they'll be a little more inclined to get the book for them. Hopefully the young kids of color will see that and be more inclined to read too, because, it's definitely a necessity, bro. And I was going to bring up that point that they connect illiteracy with how many brothers are in prison. And I think that's true, because I think there's a frustration that comes from not being able to communicate. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So you find other ways to communicate, whether that's through violence or through sex or through being a goof off class clown type of person. And again, I hate to stereotype, anybody, because just because a person can't read doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be violent. I don't want anybody to make that argument and that connection that I'm saying that. But when you have a deficiency, a lot of times you tease for it or picked on for it, or even you feel a certain way about it, so you overcompensate in other areas. So a person, I had a student who was a great running back. I mean, probably was NFL caliber, to be honest with you. Broke a couple different records at the college that I work at. But the young man, honestly, I just don't think he could read and write. And so that type of scenario and seeing that and seeing that kind of in multiple times, man, that kills me. That hurts my heart to see that happen to these young men. Great at sports or great at, something else kind of secondary to being able to critically think and read and write, And so I'm not sure what happened to the young man. I don't know if he went off to a 4-year university or not, but it killed me when, I just saw the academic side, and I could see how he kind of seemed like he was overcompensating on the football field and in the weight room and that type of thing, and just wasn't doing it in the classroom.
Definitely.
Hurts me.
Yeah, well, I definitely see you doing your part, brother. Now, are both books out already?
Little Brother is out. The book, with the African American male lead character and characters. And Hermanito, the bilingual Spanish-English book, will be dropping in the next day or two.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure to go on my social media and advertise those books for you, brother. That's definitely a great thing.
I appreciate it.
And our kids need it. You know what I'm saying? So I also want to talk to you about, because I think being a professor and working in that space, as you've been articulating, you're helping our community by doing that. Being a brother in that space that's positive, that's informative, that's really doing your best to help those kids. To me, that's being of service. Now, what prompted you to start Black Empower, where you do the clothing line, and you have everything else going there? What prompted you to go from just being a professor to starting your own entity as well?
Well, I guess that's a good question, man. Again, I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, man, small time and big time. And so I think it was always in my blood. This is like my second or third business venture that I've tried. I've had some that were successful, some that I had to sell, some that didn't work out. And this one, I was like, man, let me just try to get into this multimedia world. And I say multimedia because I had a vision of doing books and film. But in order to finance the books and films, I started off with doing T-shirts and clothing, merchandise, in order to get the capital to invest back in books and then get the capital to invest back into making film.
Got it.
So that's where I get, the multimedia angle from, because media affects us all. It affects the way that we think. And, mainstream media is always going to depict the poor, women, Black people, immigrants, et cetera, in certain ways. We can't, we we can't control the way that mainstream media portrays us, particularly Black people. We always play in a certain role, whether it is well, we won't get into all the roles, but we know that, it's not always positive roles that mainstream media has us play. And if we can control our own images and control our own media, we can be a much more powerful entity as a group. And so I wanted to create, books, film, fashion that had a positive spin, had a empowering spin, had an inspiring spin to it. I was just tired of the same stereotypes. Yep. And really tired of spending all this money on clothing brands and brands that I just didn't see have any type of cultural connection or impact or just we were just consuming just for the sake of consuming.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah, definitely. And I think, just looking at the clothing line and everything you starting with, that is a great thing, man. I recommend all Black folks, with whatever, a lot of us are forced into or choose a 9-to-5. However you get into your current working, if you're working for somebody else, that's cool. But anytime you can branch off and attempt to do something that's going to empower everybody, I think that's why I love all the moves you're making, brother, because it's going to help us all. Sometimes as Black men, Black folks, we get into a habit of, once we become successful, once we reach a certain plateau, it's kind of just about us. Now, of course, that's not everybody. I'm not putting that as a blanket statement, but in general, I think more of us need to be more on a group think type of tip. So, I'm about to start this business or I'm about to make this move. How can this possibly empower all Black folks? You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree 100%. And I appreciate you saying that because I tried to do that. Not only we, talking about providing positive imagery, but, 99.9% of the vendors that I use are Black companies or Latino companies, small businesses. I try not to go the corporate route. So with these books, I went and made sure I got a Black illustrator for these Black images. I made sure I got a Latina illustrator for these Latino images. Like I wanted it to be, authentic again, and put the money back in smaller businesses, Black-owned businesses or brown-owned businesses in this case, to make sure that the money circulates back to whom, it should get to. And Black publishing company, all that different type of stuff. Man, I just, I have to be very intentional with my dollars. They have to go back to places that I feel are worthy of my time and me spending my money. I spent so much money on Nike.
Mm-hmm.
I gave too much money to Polo and that type of thing. And not to say that I won't buy any more Nikes, but, at the same time, I got to also make sure that I'm putting my money back in the community and back at the African marketplace or back in different areas and venues that I know it's going to help somebody fuel their dreams. Because I love when people support me financially because you're really fueling my dreams,
Yep.
So I'm trying to make it circulate the same way the Chinese do, the same way the Jewish do, the same way that our Latino families do, the same way that, our Middle Easterners do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think, us seeing value in spending money with one another can bring us a long way, man. I think, because sometimes when we talk about products we want to buy, everything we need to buy, you can't find from a Black person per se. True. Sometimes you may not be in a position to go get your food or go get some type of resource from a Black business, but you can look first. You can say, okay, I'm about to buy this thing. Does a Black person sell it?
For sure.
And of course, it's not just about supporting the Black business, but it needs to be competent too. And it needs to be equal or better than the other people out there selling the same product. Yeah. We don't need to, because sometimes I see, we'll have a business and we think it should be supported solely because we're Black, but quality has to be infused into your product as well. So it can be competitive with everybody that sells whatever you're selling. So, I appreciate what you're doing, bro. Now, one other question I want to ask, and I didn't see this until today. Talk to me about, I think it's a pamphlet or some type of a document that you published regarding teaching men of color in community college. What is that about?
It's a guidebook for teachers, counselors, administrators that want to be more impactful with their men of color at the community college level, but it really, has some good advice and pointers for teachers of, students of color at all levels, K through 20. And it's an opportunity that I had with two renowned brothers out there, professors out in San Diego, Dr. J. Luke Wood and Dr. Frank Harris. I mean, these two guys are internationally recognized, as academic and scholar practitioners at the community college level and researchers, man. I mean, some great guys. Anyway, it was a collaborative effort between, us three on what are some practical steps that people can take to be more effective with their male students at the community college level and other levels. So, that book actually, it came out, I think, maybe 2015, if I'm not mistaken, but it's been doing very well and helping a lot of different colleges across the nation be more, just be more aware and be more impactful with the men of color on their campuses. And so, man, it's done well.
Yeah, and I thought that was really important because I think I don't know if someone has done it already, but I think versions of this need to be instituted for younger kids too, because
Definitely.
Growing up and having teachers that are primarily white, sometimes them not being raised in our communities, they're not familiar with our temperament. They're not familiar with how we are to a degree. So I think that creates a bridge of how they can treat us and how we learn. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, this was a extremely good idea, and I hope teachers of all colors was like receive that book with an open mind, so they can learn something. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. And I agree 100% with what you're saying. It's like, most teachers in America are not Black or not of color. So you kind of have a cultural disconnect with students that look a certain way and then you look a different way, right? There's stereotypes and there's prejudices that go kind of both ways. Like, oh, this white dude don't understand me. Or on the flip side of that, this Black kid, I don't understand him. But I'm in power as the teacher. So, it's going to be my way or the highway. So you end up having a whole lot of clashes, with public school and public education. And yes, teachers need professional development, and teachers, counselors, administrators, we need to update our teaching methods just the same way as we update our iPhones and Droid phones, and the same way that you get you a computer every so often, you need to add to your professional development every so often. As a matter of fact, regularly, because cultures change and the student culture has changed today. If you're not doing things online or have some element of online, like, I don't know, some type of online component, whether it's Google Docs or whether you show a film clip, then you're missing the boat. You can't do the same things that you may have done in 89 in 2019. So you have to continue to update your professional development, your professional growth. And that's what this book is. It's just a tool for professional development and growth for academics who are serious about reaching men of color in their classrooms.
Definitely. That's some good information, bro. And, like I said, I just seen that today, but I was like, man, that was an extremely good idea. And I seen you had some other educated brothers on there with you.
Yeah, some bad dudes.
That's a good thing. Definitely, man. So look, Khalid, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast, man, and having this conversation with me. I'm extremely happy that we did it. You got a lot of knowledge. I want people in our community to look at teachers and educators the same way they look at athletes and entertainers. You know what I'm saying? It's the impact is much greater even. So I appreciate you speaking with me today, man, on the Melanated Convo podcast. And I want you to tell everybody, give them your social media links, any way to get in contact with you.
Okay, I appreciate it. My social media is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Black Empower, and that's spelled BLKMPWR. That's BLKMPWR. Again, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And then my website is www.blkmpwr.com. blackempower.com. And you also can hit me on blackempower at Gmail, blkmpwr@gmail.com as well. And yeah, I just look forward to, continuing to connect with you, Harrison, and continuing to connect with the community. And thanks for having me.
Definitely, definitely. Now, your books are on the website too, right?
Yep, you can get the books. You can browse through the merchandise. We got digital downloads for the books and for the film, and all different type of stuff on there. So take a look.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. So I want to thank everybody for tuning into another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I hope you guys learned something from the brother. Please go out and support his books. All the families out there with students who are about to go to college, think about the junior college piece that we spoke about. That's important as well. To catch the podcast, you can go to melanatedfathers.com. You can go to Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. The podcast is on Spotify also. The podcast is on Anchor FM. Also, that's another app on your phone where the podcast will be located. We're going to continue to try to bring you these in-depth conversations, man, so we can get to the bottom of a lot of the issues that we face as a community. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm out.